Yo, what's up, everybody? I'm not used to doing this. I'm not used to driving and talking. Well, I'm used to talking, but then I gotta pay attention to the road and stuff like that. And I gotta get some brakes. I gotta get the brakes fixed on the car. But I was, like in New York City, I'm always walking to the train station, so I got a lot to talk about. In New York, there's just so much shit going on every day. And here's a lot of stuff going on, but I haven't been watching the news. And to me, my life has seemed so much better. Maybe it's just because I'm down here. You're right, down here I be rushing to get downtown to find a parking spot. And then when I get downtown, it's mad parking spots. It's just funny. It's just different, man. It's different down south, man. I be bored and shit down here. But back to what I was saying. There's just so much going on in the city. There's just so much to talk about. I got something to talk about, though. Do you know in 1861, 99% of black people worked for Mr. Charlie? Today, 2021, 98% of black people work for Mr. Charlie. And then we talk about racism. That's why racism exists. Racism exists because we're not independent. If you're not independent, you gotta have a thinking, you gotta have a mindset like your employer. You can't think out the box, because the minute you think out the box, your employer gonna give you the axe. If they find out you saying something that they don't go along with, they're not gonna take too kindly to it. That's what it is. That's one of the main things. Being self-employed, self-sufficient, self-sustaining, and doing for self. Because when you come into New York City and you see all the big, beautiful skyscrapers, those skyscrapers are owned by Mr. Charlie. Everything you see is owned by Mr. Charlie. The skyscrapers, the buildings. When you want to get married, you got to go ask Mr. Charlie. You want to go fishing, you got to ask Mr. Charlie. You want to go hunting, you got to ask Mr. Charlie. You want to get a gun, you got to ask Mr. Charlie. You got to get a license from Mr. Charlie. You got to go ask him for everything. Everything. And this is one of the main reasons that racism, the suffix ISM, means let the conditions remain. ISM, the suffix, racism, that means let the prevailing conditions remain. Black people, Mr. Charlie on top, black people on the bottom. That's racism. Yep. And that's why it exists. And that's why we don't, we keep talking about like the educational system. Like Claude Anderson said, he said, public schools are not broken. They do what they're designed to do. They're designed to marginally educate black children to go work for Mr. Charlie. He didn't say Mr. Charlie. He said something else. He said white people. That's what the schools are designed. And that's why you're not taught black history.